So maybe over the holiday season, you got yourself a Syma X5. The first thing you're going to want to do is take it apart. I know, that sounds like kind of counterintuitive, but one of the things we notice that happens the most with these little guys is the LED panels fall off. So you're going to want to grab some hot glue or maybe some crazy glue like I used here and just kind of weld the edges of the little LED panels on the sides. Because after a couple of crashes, these were the first things that popped off. So put a dab on each side of the inside of the panel, and then just for good measure, put a little bit on the outside on the edges too, just to make sure that these little guys don't fall off. Then, if you want to make your Syma a little bit more special, you can paint it like I did, and I just used some neon bright colors. I went with green, orange, and blue, and it worked pretty well because it helped me look at the propellers and which direction I was flying. And eventually you might have to replace a motor on your Syma, which is actually not too bad to do. The hardest part is waiting the 2 weeks for the motor to come in, but you'll need to bust out your soldering iron once you've got your new motors in and disconnect the old motor, take off the top. And Padre pointed out there's an easier way to do this, and that's to desolder the wires from the board. But as I had not thought of this before our recording, I cut the wires, stripped them, used some heat shrink, and reattached the new motor that way. Now, the motors do rotate counterclockwise or clockwise, but you'll want to match up the color code, the color of the wire with the wire. So if you have a black and white wire, you'll want to make sure the white wire is connected to the white wire and the black is connected to the black. Pretty straightforward. Once you've soldered your new motor to the board, you can reassemble your Syma and test it out. And just to make sure we did everything correct, we'll do a quick test flight, and our Syma is as good as new with the brand new motor. Pretty sweet. The next big mod that you'll want to do for your Syma is on the controller itself. The range is about, I'd say 100 feet with a stock Syma, but with this little mod, you'll be able to get at least 3 times that. Here's the internal little antenna that comes with the Syma. Now, the Syma works on a 2.4 gigahertz. So if you have some Wi-Fi antenna router antennas laying around, that's what I did to solder to the board. And on most antennas, there'll be a shielding that you'll need to peel back, connected to a smaller inner wire. Now, this does take some delicate soldering work, so you'll want to desolder the power cables from the back of the controller so you can get easier access to the board. And then pull the shielding back and solder that to the grounding pad next to the antenna, and then solder the core antenna cable to the board. Make sure to give yourself enough length but not too much length on the antenna. And then I was able to find a washer and nut that fit into a small crevice at the top of the controller and fit the antenna that way. So be very careful when reassembling your board and make sure that the shielding is attached to the ground and the antenna is soldered to where the previous antenna was. After that, put the controller back together, solder the battery cables back to the back part of the case, and then you should be able to test it out. Now, keeping our fingers crossed, I test out the new antenna with the Syma, and it works. It's just as responsive as before at close range, but the biggest difference is I can fly it at a point that I can't see it anymore. So that's far enough for me, and that definitely extended the range of the Syma.